Hello and welcome to this week's video. So today I want to look a little bit at diagnosis, because if you're here because you've got a mental health issue, be it depression, anxiety, whatever it is, then the chances are you've had a diagnosis. Whether it's a self-diagnosis, you've been on the internet because you know something's wrong and you've had a look and you've seen that what you're feeling fits this and this symptom, and you've made the decision that that must be what you've got, or whether you've actually been to the doctor and the doctor or the psychiatrist or the therapist, whoever, has said, yeah, this is what you've got. You'll have had a diagnosis, won't you? And recently I've had a new diagnosis, and this is something I haven't really shared much yet, so this is it's news to quite a few people. So most of you know, if you've been on the website or if you've watched many of the videos, listened to the podcasts, that I struggle with depression and anxiety and insomnia. And it's been an ongoing struggle and so on, but over the past few, months, past 6 months or so, Cheryl and I have really been looking with the psychiatrist that I see only once a quarter as part of the NHS service. We've been looking at whether or not it could be bipolar, because I have that really that cycling mood. It goes from high to low. When I'm high I can get a bit manic, is not quite the right word, but a bit more out of control than I normally would be. When I get low, I'm really low. And as it turns out, it's not bipolar, which might be good news, might not be, I'm not quite sure. Instead, what the psychiatrist believes that I have is borderline personality disorder, or BPD. And truth be told, even though it's been a couple of weeks since that diagnosis, I'm still not quite sure what to make of it, because it's one of those things. It's hard to explain. It's hard to explain, it's hard to understand, especially if you've not been through it and if you don't really know that much about it. So, it's still something quite new for me. I'm learning more about it. I'm looking at different websites, reading up on the diagnosis, like mind.org.uk. Seeing exactly what it is, what it isn't, some of the things, so that I can identify some of the things that I do and don't do that actually fit with this diagnosis. Because as I say, I'm not familiar with it. I've heard of it before, but don't know that much about it. So it's a learning curve. Apparently it's treated through therapy. Apparently a lot of the mood swings going up and down, and that very rapid cycling of it is characteristic of it. Apparently things like being really, really high to really, really low is a characteristic. And the emotions, being really intense with the emotions. Feeling almost like if something bad happens, like it's the end of the world. It's all wrapped up in it. And thinking about it, and bearing in mind we haven't explored this part in therapy at all because I'm not on that kind of therapy, but looking at the symptoms that are described, the patterns, the behaviours, I'm not too sure how long, but I think I've had this for a very long time. Because some of them I can remember going back years and years. But we don't know why. Some say it's genetic, which it could be, but nobody in my family, as far as I know, has ever had it. The other thing they tend to say is that it's induced through some form of childhood trauma. I've not had one that I know of. And my memory being what it is, I'd like to think I'd remember if I had. But what does that change? And this is the important bit that I want to look at. Because really, I've just told you that I've been diagnosed with something. I've told you something new about me. Does it change anything? You see, a lot of people would be very quick to kind of go, oh, no, you're depressed or borderline personality, bipolar, oh, no, no, and kind of back right off. But really, just because they're telling you, just because they're sharing something with you that you don't already know, it doesn't mean they're a different person. Because after all, it's not like we're leading a completely double life. We're hiding things a little bit, but everybody does. Everybody has secrets. Who I am as a person does not change just because I've been given a new label. It helps me because I deal better with labels. I like having the label because then I can say, right, okay, this is what I'm up against. This is what I'm dealing with. But it doesn't change who I am. I had borderline personality disorder before I saw the therapist. I had it before I told you guys. I had it possibly as long as I can remember. I'm not really sure. So just because I'm choosing to share it now does not make me any different as a person. Because that's the thing, isn't it? Sometimes people take a diagnosis and look at it and it's like their whole world has been turned upside down. People from the outside looking in do the same thing. Oh, no, you're a completely different person. You're not who I thought you were. I can't deal with this. But it doesn't change a thing, does it? I, Alex Davis, am the same person that I've always been. If anything, the only thing that's different is I've added a little bit to my knowledge. I know a little bit more about me. So if you're one of those people, this is a two-part message for you. If you're one of those people who has been given a diagnosis and you're struggling to come to terms with it, that's okay. Not everybody accepts it as quick as I do. You will get there. One day you will accept your diagnosis and you'll learn to live with it. But you have nothing to be ashamed of. There's no need to hide. Because you are still the same amazing person that you were before you walked into that appointment, before you were given that new label. And to those of you, friends, family members of somebody who's recently come out with a diagnosis, whether you were there when they received it or whether they've told you within a few days, a few weeks, a few months, it doesn't matter. They are still exactly the same person. Whether they're the funny one, the sad one, the life and soul of the party, or the one who'd rather stay in and read. Whoever they are still the same person. Their mental health diagnosis does not change that. Nor for that matter does their physical health diagnosis. They haven't changed. Your perception of them might have. Because learning that somebody has depression, or borderline personality disorder, bipolar, anxiety, whatever it is, learning that they have that might as well be the same as learning that they like to play video games or they play guitar. What does it matter in terms of who they are? At worst, it will just explain a few reasons why they behave in some of the ways they do. Why some of my emotions tend to come out really, really intensely. It explains it. And that's a key point there. It's not an excuse. it's an explanation, because we still have to work at it. We can't just say, oh, it's the depression, I can't help it. Oh, it's the bipolar. Oh, it's borderline personality disorder. They're reasons, not excuses. But that diagnosis changes nothing in terms of who you or they are as a person. I hope that brings you some encouragement, and if you would like to talk to me more, whether that's about borderline personality disorder, because at this stage I will welcome all the information I can get, or whether it's just asking questions, how do I deal with a diagnosis, or whether you're struggling with particular aspects, you're more than welcome to drop me a message. You can email me, alex.davis@pushingbacktheshadows, or at the end of this video, on the ending card, you will see all my social media accounts. You can get in touch with me on any of those, and I'll be happy to help, happy to listen. But that's all from me for this week. I hope you guys are having a good time. Admittedly, when you're watching this, I am actually on holiday, and hoping that the weather's going to be really nice. It should be. It's meant to be really, really hot, but we shall see. But I shall definitely catch you next week on our video. So you guys take care, and I'll see you next week.